Alison Taafe, the Sassy Chef. Thanks for joining me again, guys, if you're regulars to this channel, and if you're new, welcome for the first time. I'm going to show you how to cook a piece of steak today. A lot of people veer away from cooking steak. They're not sure if it's going to be well done or rare or medium. There's a lot of different techniques, loads of different wisdom out there about how to do it. I'm going to demystify that today and make it very simple. Got a beautiful piece of sirloin steak or porterhouse steak. It's got a beautiful layer of fat along the top that's going to help to render down in the pan and give it nice juicy flavour. It's got marbling through it, which also will help to create flavour and moistness. Plus it's a beautiful bright red piece of meat, which means the blood's oxidised and it's a fresh piece of steak that's going to be delicious. Now, dry off the surface of it to make sure there's no excess blood or moisture. That will cause the steak to stick in the pan, which is not what we want. The pan is already preheating. Now, some people make the mistake of actually oiling the pan. They end up with bellows of smoke in the kitchen and the barbecue sets fire, and it's not necessary. The only reason you put oil on is to stop this from sticking. So if the pan's non-stick and hot, and also the oil is there on a dry surface, you're good to go. It's not going to stick. So only season the steak lightly before you put it onto the grill. And just make sure that that pan, and watch what I do here, make sure the pan's hot before it goes in, guys. Flip it down away from you, and as soon as you create the seal on the bottom side, the steak should start to move. Okay, and that's when we start to turn things over. I'm also going to drop the heat down slightly now so that I'm not going to overcook on the first side, because we do actually just want to turn the steak over once. Alright, let's have a little look in here. I want to make sure that the fat is sealed, so don't be frightened to just turn it up on its side and a bit and roll it around, just make sure it's sealed all the way around. Especially if it's a thick piece of steak, you want to make sure that you've filled in all the juices and the blood. Now let's have a check, shall we? It's been on for about 5 minutes, I'll say a couple of minutes each side. Have a little feel here. Now you can see how that's spongy there. We call it resilient to the touch, it springs back up, okay? Now that is what we call a rare steak, okay? Now, a lot of chefs use these different techniques with fingers and thumbs and whatever. I think the easiest way to talk to you is to put your finger in the small of your cheek and feel how floppy that feels, okay? It doesn't matter what finger it is, that's rare. Okay, go up a little bit higher into your cheekbone. That feels a little bit firmer, medium, and up here into the bone and the muscle area here, it's quite resilient to the touch. In other words, it's quite firm here. That's well done. So that's a really good example of how to check. But also, what you've got to be careful of, guys, is making sure that you allow it to rest. Now, at the moment, the blood's trying to penetrate away from the hot surface, so it's pooling at the top of the steak. When we turn it round, it's pooling at the base. What we want it to do is rest in and have all the juices make their way back down into the centre of the steak so that it's juicy, it doesn't leak out all over the plate and mop into your lettuce and be horrible on your potatoes. It stays in your mouth, that's what you want. So what I'm going to do now is just turn this power off, take my steak out, and I'm going to let it rest, okay? Now, you can let it rest in a bowl with some foil over it, keep it nice and warm. I'm going to serve this up quite quickly, so I'm just going to let it rest. I'm going to take away some of the residual juice, and I'm going to let it rest for probably about 2 or 3 minutes. So whatever you cooked it on one side for, say 2 minutes or 3, you turn it over and cook it the other way, you're going to rest it for about half the time it's cooked for, basically. So let's just speed through a little bit as if this has rested nicely. What I'm going to do now is pop this steak on the plate, but before I do that, I want to cut it so I can show you inside. Okay, so we've taken the steak out of the pan. I've let it rest for about 3 or 4 minutes to let those juices settle. Now I'm just going to give this a cut so I can see what a good job I've done. Oh, perfect. I've actually got a beautiful rare steak there, which my mum would hate. I love rare steak, but like I say, if you want to cook it a little bit longer, it's entirely up to you. Just remember the cheek test, okay? Let's pop that on the plate there. And what I'm going to do is just dress up that steak, and you might be able to just have a look at how lovely colour-wise on there. Looks beautiful. But I'll just put a little bit more iron on there, so I've got a really good power-packed dinner here. A little bit of rocket, which is loaded with iron and vitamins. It's got the alphabet of vitamins in rocket. It's got A, B, C, E and K. Take that out in the sun. I live in Queensland, it's always sunny, so take it out in the sun for 10 minutes, eat it in the sun, and there's the vitamin D for the day as well. So here we have a beautiful, rare, pan-fried steak, and we have beautiful rocket dressed in olive oil and lemon juice. Thanks, guys. Visit us at the sassychef.net, and I'll see you soon.